I'm Felina.
And I'm Summer.
And you are listening to Broken Broken.
Because we're both.
The podcast about living your best life by getting real. What's up, broken people? We're back today. I'm Felina.
And this is Summer. And today we have a wonderful woman. She's an artist and an author, and she publishes under the name of Dark Sky Lady. Her bio says she's a multi-ethnic creative female that spouts nonsense that occasionally makes sense.
I like it.
So normally we do an intro before we bring the guests on, but I wanted to bring you on before we talk about what I have to rant about today, and then we'll go into your personal stuff.
Oh, I didn't know there was going to be a rant.
There's going to be a rant because you know I love those. But before we do that, can you tell us what is your ethnic makeup?
Based on what my family has told me, we're not very close, but I am, okay, brace yourself. I am Black, Norwegian, Apache, Cherokee, French, German, and Puerto Rican.
Nice. Quite the combo.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's
beautiful.
That's a lot.
I'm everywhere.
All over the place, right? Okay. So, and of course, I'm Native, as you know, and Felina is a Mexican woman, right?
Yeah, I'm
what
half.
Else on the other side?
Yeah, my dad is technically a mestizo. I mean, he's like that perfect definition. My grandfather was a Spaniard. My grandmother was an Aztec Indian.
Okay.
And so he's a mestizo, which is essentially a Mexican. And then on my mom's side, she's Dutch-Irish.
Dutch-Irish.
Yeah.
Okay.
And probably some other stuff,
right?
Like European.
Right.
Descent stuff because she was very white.
Yeah.
Okay.
My grandmother on my mom's side looks very white. She's from Norway.
Okay.
My dad's family from Ponce in Puerto Rico.
Oh, I know where Ponce is. I've been there. Yeah, Ponce is beautiful.
Okay, so I'm tired, y'all. I'm just so tired.
Well, you're going to rant.
And that's where I'm going to rant about, because I'm just exhausted with it. Like, I don't even have the energy to get angry anymore, because fall is always hard. Anyway, for Native folks, because you've got Columbus Day, you've got Halloween, and you've got Thanksgiving. And so it's like a constant barrage of racist imagery that we just can't deal with. And, I'm just tired. And I've been doing panels because now we're into Native American Heritage Month in November. So I've been doing panels too. So I've been fielding questions. And of course, I get people contacting me on social media and everything, asking questions about this. And then, of course, the wonderful white supremacists like to hunt us down, which is fun.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
The costumes. And the costumes is what I'm just tired. Yes, because I mean we've got the Megyn Kelly comments, which is why I wanted to wait for you. Is we've got the Megyn Kelly comments about how blackface is acceptable, and we've got the teachers out of Idaho, who dressed like Mexican stereotypes.
Yes, I saw that.
Yes, and then of course we've got the typical. We always have the Native costumes. So, what do you ladies think about this? Because I'm so done. Like, why? Why are people doing backflips to act like this is okay? Like, just own your racist shit.
I think it's just, again, I see it all the time. I see this disconnect when you try and explain to, especially for white people, when you try and explain why something is racist or why something isn't okay, they don't see, honestly, where we're coming from. It's like we're not really there. There's no relatability between us
because it's not impacting them.
Yeah, because it's not impacting them, and then and to an extent it's even worse because while I mean anyone can tell me any experience they've had. I'm very, very open. It may sound out of left field. Someone can tell me they got punched by a ghost, and I will say that's your experience. Okay, you got punched by a spirit. All right, that's your experience. But where we're willing to believe the experiences of white people, we don't get that back. They don't believe our experiences, or they think we're looking at it through a race lens. Like all of us have our race goggles on and we're crying out, racism every time we see it. Have you read So You Want to Talk About Race?
No.
I think she explains it really well when she starts talking about whether or not something's racist. She says, point blank, which I agree with, it is racist if a person of color says it's racist or it's about race, because no matter what, when you're coming into a situation, you're bringing your whiteness, just like I'm bringing the fact that I'm a minority into the mix. So no matter what, we are going to meet in that dynamic.
You know, have this thought I'd like to share on this. I have family members on my mom's side that are extremely white and don't believe that, you know, race is an issue. And, you know, it's always, and I love my stepdad, and I don't want him to be hurt by this, but like, right. You know, he's one of them, you know, that's like, doesn't quite see, it's such a narrow-minded, closed off minded, not even narrow, because there's just like a lack of exposure to what it's actually like. They're so far removed that they just can't fathom, like, because he's such a good guy, but he literally just can't see it, and he's so well intended and has such a big heart, and he just can't see it. And so I almost think it's willful blindness in some ways too. You know, because I don't want to examine their own privilege. Right. You know,
but that's hard. That's hard
and
to do.
I like have such an immense amount of respect for men that are like, you know, successful white men who are like, yeah, I'm privileged. I see my privilege, and let me do something to help you, like in a genuine way. Like that, my boss at my new firm, he sees that, you know, good. And it's wonderful to have been hired because I'm Mexican and because they see value in
they value that.
Yeah, that's they valued the diversity. That was one of the first things they said when they interviewed me. They were like, you look different than us, and we know that that's important, and like, and you're smart, and you know.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and I don't think that happens nearly enough, and I feel so fortunate for that. But like, it's just in comparison of the two dichotomies of men that, you know, both my boss and my stepdad are prominent, you know, white men who come from prominent white families that, you know, had some money growing up and exposed them to different opportunities and whatnot, and they see things totally different. It's I don't know.
And there's so many layers of privilege that you just named right there.
I'm sorry, I was kind of ranting too, but
no, it is. But there's so many layers of privilege right there that they would have to dive through to try to sort through that.
But somehow my boss sees it,
right?
And somehow,
so I don't know how you can make that.
Yeah, it's just
consistently people be able to do that. I don't know.
I don't know the difference between them that made them, you know, they come from essentially the same thing, but they see the world differently. I don't know.
I think it also comes from a lot of the time, because even for me, for a long time, I used to react to certain things, like get defensive, get upset, and I didn't want to look at why I reacted the way that I did in certain situations. And it takes a lot for a person to start looking and going, before I react this way, why do I feel this way? Or when I see this commercial, or when I see these people, why does this thought pop into my head? Where is this coming from? Is this something that I was taught? When did I start thinking about these people in terms of this? Because, I mean...
It's identifying your unconscious bias.
Yeah. Because, I mean, there's racism, and there's a whole bunch of things in entire families. Like my grandmother, who passed away a few years back, very sweet lady, very kind. She used to drive me crazy because she was born again Christian, and she would be the one where we would go to a fast food place, and she would want to sit next to the homeless person who smells, and I'm like, Grandma, can we please, as a child, please, Grandma, let's just move away. She's like, Jesus loves you, let me buy you something, and I'm just like, God. Very sweet, but she would say sometimes the most ignorant comments, not necessarily about race, because she dated outside of her race, which is part of the reason why we're so mixed, but she would say comments about gays, like the whole thing with gays in the military. She was saying, she would send me letters saying, it breaks my heart that they're all going to burn in hell. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
That's
like,
so
Grandma,
bizarre.
You love them, but they're going to hell. Like, wow. And everyone's guilty of it. My dad, his family is Puerto Rican. He would make comments to me about black people, and I would just stare at him and go, Dad, look at the hair. I'm part black. You don't know this? What are you telling me right now? You realize that just because I'm not that dark, it doesn't mean I'm not part black, and you're kind of insulting me too. But he honestly didn't think he was saying anything wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh my God, they're bringing down the property value. They're moving in.
Oh, God.
Why are you? I'm like, God.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, my stepdad like forgets I'm Mexican. I'm like, yeah, like.
Does he make comments in front of you?
Well, no, it's just more of an ignorance to them all. You know, it's like anything. He doesn't relate at all when I try to bring it up. He's just like, what? Why? Why do you care? You know, and I'm like, cause I'm Mexican, dude. Like. Reminder.
Yeah, basically.
I Oh, I hate
Yeah,
that.
but
Not
Yeah.
you. You're the exception.
He doesn't ever say
yes, I'm
anything.
the exception to the rule.
Yeah, he doesn't, and I mean, unfortunately, like, he doesn't ever say anything. I mean, it's like race just doesn't exist. It's just not a thing.
I was having a Twitter conversation this morning about color blindness.
Yeah.
The people who claim, and I'm like,
Mhm.
that's a form of erasure. You're completely ignoring and denying part of that person's lived experience.
Yeah.
And of course, the person I was talking to didn't get it. I just finally just left it. I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I said what I had to say. I'm done.
the piece I just wrote, I was thinking about that color blindness, and I wrote in there, I was like, if you're saying that you're colorblind, I mean, based on these studies, there was a study in Canada, University of Toronto and Scarborough. They did a study where they plugged these white people up to EEGs to watch the mirror neuron system to see how their brains fire when you see people complete mundane tasks. Since you see yourself in the task, like if somebody's opening a door, like going down the steps, opening a book, washing dishes, anything, your brain will fire as if you yourself are performing the task. What they noticed about white people was that when they saw someone outside of the race performing the task on the video, there was little to no activity, as if they weren't even seeing anything. And I think that's part of where that disconnect comes from. They don't see our lived experiences. They don't see color. You're right, because you don't see us.
You're invisible.
You don't see us as individuals.
We're not a homogenous society, and that seems just like that's what the right, blind, the colorblind people want, is a homogenous society.
It is, and I think that's one thing that a lot of that is I hate to use the word privilege because privilege almost sounds like a good thing. That a lot of white people have is because it's a numbers game, and then also the striations in class is that there is a large portion of their population that is able to surround themselves exclusively with people that are like them. And so they never develop that empathy for people that are different from them.
Yeah.
Whereas minority people don't have that option because you're constantly surrounded by people who aren't like you and who have different experiences than you.
Mm-hmm. Growing up, oh my God, I was surrounded by almost all white kids.
Where did you grow up?
And I was born in New York, but we moved to Florida when I was around 5.
Okay.
And in the area that we lived in, it was like dirt road area near where the space shuttles would go up, because when they would have the space shuttles go up, they would take us outside to watch the space shuttles take off.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
I'm old enough to even have seen the Challenger explode when I went outside when I was a kid. We saw it explode, and then our teachers were rushing us back inside, and we were like, "What's going on?"
Wow.
But because of that, I was the only kid that looked mixed. No one else in the school looked like me. And even my brother and sister, to an extent, because what gave me away even more was the fact I was the only child in the family that had the thick, kinky, break comb hair.
Oh, okay.
I've broken so many combs in my younger years. But my sister and my brother had like the beautiful Spanish, like curly hair.
Okay.
They had the beautiful hair, and I was just always looking at them like, why can't I have that hair?
We always want what we don't
I-
have.
Yes, that's true. That is 100% very true. So for up until I think late in high school, like maybe senior year, by that point I'd gotten such a complex about my hair that I used to always just keep it back in a ponytail. And even then people used to pick on me because they would be like, when the wind blows, your ponytail doesn't move. It's stiff. So I was like, oh
Humans are
God. I had
terrible.
names like Brillo, Chia Pet.
Oh
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Every time I walk by, they'd be like, Chia. I was like, oh, Lord.
Oh, that's rough.
I see it as funny now, especially when I see the commercials. I'm like, you know what? My hair does grow like that. It does sprout. It doesn't go straight up. I get it. But now I'm like, that's a good thing. My hair
Yeah,
goes up.
absolutely. I like my brownness now too. I was
Yes.
one of 4 brown girls I mean, there were a few other Mexican kids, but not a lot. And my dad, he's a Mexican man, would put me in dance with all the white girls so that I could it just, quick story. I held up a whole Christmas dance recital at one point in time because I was the only brown girl. in our white leotards at 12 years old, my nipples showed through.
Yes, they will.
And so I locked myself in the dressing room and held up the start of a Christmas recital for like an hour until one of the moms finally figured out what was going on, because I lived up with my dad.
Right.
And he didn't know how to handle anything. So I like to call these my ugly Betty moments that were formative of my character, and I'm grateful to have had them now.
See, I grew up in an area that was at the time still pretty segregated, right? Mm-hmm. So we had mostly large Choctaw population and then large white population, not a whole lot of anything else. There's at that time there was a couple of Mexican families. That's about it, I think. Yeah. And we didn't really have anybody else. And I was one of only, I think there were 4 of us light-skinned cousins, right? So it was always a little weird and interesting. So, the cousins would give us a hard time about being white, and then the white kids did. you were just an Indian, so you didn't get to, there wasn't too much crossover allowed there. And so I hated my curly hair because I was the only one with the curly hair.
It's so pretty though.
I like it now, but I hated it then because I just wanted to look like my cousins.
I just wanted to be named Sarah or something. Like I did not want to be Felina. I wanted to be Danielle or Sarah or Ashley, not Felina. Not being sent to school for picture day in like a traditional Mexican garb. Yes.
I'm the parent that would probably do that to my kids.
Come on now. I just want to be Ashley.
Like my name. I wanted to change it to Princess.
I
was like, when am I going to be legal to change my name? How old do I have to be to legally change my name to Princess?
Princess.
And I would just tell my mom, like, keep my hair straight. We used to relax it. The old days, the hot comb.
Oh, I hate the hot comb.
To do it on my own. I was hot combing my hair. You get that burnt smell.
Oh, that smell never leaves you. Like, I can just think of it and I smell it. Ugh.
Yeah.
I can smell it distinctly. Or when you're combing your hair and the teeth in the middle of the comb break off.
Yeah, I still do that.
And then you're like trying to comb with one end.
Yes. I was at a gathering of a bunch of Native women here a while back, and almost everybody had left, but there were 4 of us left. And my friend Sarah, because we'd all spent the night in this cabin. And she was getting ready to leave, and we were checking the rooms and stuff. And she happens to somehow be standing in a room with the only 3 women, me included, that have hair like me. And she's got the nice, fine, straight hair. And she's like, do one of y'all have a brush that I can use? Because I can't find mine. And we all look at each other and just start laughing. And she's like, what? It was so funny. I said, you can't get a brush through any of our hair. Why would any of us have one? And she had never thought of it because she's got the fine straight hair.
When I went natural, I got rid of my brush. The only thing I have is a very wide tooth comb that I use to detangle my hair in the shower.
Oh yes, I only comb mine in the shower with the conditioner in. I'll be bald otherwise.
You have to do it with the conditioner and the water to make that hair slick. And try finger detangle a little because it is not easy. And everyone, when I first went natural, it wasn't very well received overall. When I first finally decided to go with my natural hair.
How old were you?
I remember, it took a long time. I was in my late 20s, early 30s when I went natural. A friend of mine had posted on Facebook a picture of a lady in the military, and she had her hair out, beautiful, big, gorgeous hair, and I was like, wow, she's amazing. She's like, my hair used to do that. Maybe I should try. And when I first went natural, some of the reactions were, I can give you tips on how to straighten it, as if I don't already know that from years of experience. I've had people go, keratin, I can refer you to a good place to get a keratin thing. Go over here. And no, this is, I like this. And they're like, oh, you want it like that.
What does the keratin do?
They were saying, the lady was like, it's keratin, it'll straighten your hair like smooth, like almost a Japanese straightening.
Oh, okay. I've seen those treatments.
No, I don't think I want to do that. I don't need any of that. Thank you. And she was like, you like your hair thick like that because it's really big. I'm like, yeah, I know. That's why I like it.
So were these people you knew, or are these strangers making comments?
Yes, these people already saw my hair straight, so I think it was just such a big change. And then some of them were like, "It doesn't look right.
So they're trying to steer you back to.
Yeah,
so
even
dumb.
my partner at the time was asking me. He was like supportive, but fake supportive kind of. He was like, "Oh, your hair looks so great. So when are you gonna straighten it again?"
Oh wow.
Fuck that. It's so beautiful to see women like just own themselves. Like the older I get, the more I own exactly who I am, and the more I feel myself and feel more confident, and like that's a beautiful change. I love it. I want to see the picture. You have to send us a picture for the episode, so it needs to be of your hair, all natural and beautiful.
Yeah, my younger daughter has I don't know if you've seen a picture of her. Actually, Felina has. As you know, my older daughter is mixed, but my younger daughter is black. And the foster home she was in before us, he does hair. I don't know what his title is, but he does hair anyway. But apparently he's never worked on ethnic hair at all. So he didn't know what to do with it. He straightened that child's hair every single day that she lived with him.
And how old was she at the time?
She was 5. No, 4. She turned 5 right after we met, so she was 4. And he was straightening her hair right up until, I guess, a couple months before she moved in with me, and then he had started taking her to get braided. And it took years to get her to be okay with her natural hair.
Yeah, once you start doing it that early, yeah.
She would, because he would make a big deal out of how beautiful she looked after he would straighten her hair, and he'd take her to the salon, and he was doing at that time like Miss Oklahoma's hair and all of this, and he was going to put her in modeling and pageants and all this stuff.
And she's so beautiful.
Yes, and it really, to this day, she's 10 now, and it still creeps back up. Like when we were at therapy the other day, she asked me, why won't you straighten my hair? And I'm like, I'm not going to do it. We're just not going to do that. Your hair is beautiful the way it is, and it's wonderful to be who you are, because that did such a number. And she only lived with them for 6 months, but that did such a number on her self-image, in that this whole
that period of time is so formative. That 4 to 6 age range. I mean, I've been to therapy. I know that some of the things that happened to me during that brief period of time still affect me at 36, almost 37 years old. Like, it's such a formative time when you are supposed to be your parents' number one, and their opinion means everything to you. That's the time when you're supposed to be the most reaffirming and reassuring, because that's when your sense of security is developing at that age.
That's true. And
when you don't get that, my therapist calls it a narcissistic wound, because you're constantly seeking that approval that you didn't get from your parents at that particular time. It just creates a big wound that's difficult to heal.
That's true.
Yeah.
And that's also when you're learning empathy.
Yes.
So that's the thing with people don't, you were talking about that study earlier about how they're not even seeing the people that don't look like them. Because during that time, if you're not exposed to other people and you're not learning empathy and healthy attachments, you can't get that back once it cements. You just can't. Yeah. That's why I'm so adamant about us teaching children, because I'm like, a lot of these adults are lost causes. We've got to focus on the kids.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I worked for the Center for Children and Families here in Norman. I mean, if you can, the cycle of abuse, you have to stop it at the child's age. All the studies that they had reviewed all said the same thing. It has to be, you're going to have to just stop it at the child's age and go ahead and get them in therapy so they don't repeat the same patterns. But if you don't stop it as a child, your chances of
because it's extremely hard.
Yeah, breaking that cycle outside of childhood is drops drastically, and people end up repeating the same patterns. So And you said you work with children, right? And that you try to teach them those things often. So what is it that you do in trying to help them understand?
I work with students privately, tutoring them, but occasionally discussions in politics or different things come up. I remember one of my students, he's Spanish, but very, very light skin. Like, he has very white skin.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking, and he was talking about how much he loves, which one of those idiots? Which one is it?
There's so many.
YouTube, there's a lot of them. The YouTube idiot, the Suicide Forest guy.
Oh, I don't remember his name,
Logan,
but yes, I know.
Logan Paul.
Okay.
And he was talking about
we
how
found
much
someone who had
he's
committed
a fan.
suicide and videoed with it for his YouTube likes.
Yes, he had a dead body in the video and was like laughing.
Yes.
And I was just like,
he's a sociopath or a psychopath.
Wait, yeah. So, like, this person was a fan of this guy?
The student's a fan
of
this guy.
I didn't know.
Adores him, wants his merchandise. And he's like, my mom's going to buy me, like, the Maverick merchandise. And I'm like, Maverick?
What is wrong with the
what is
mother?
Maverick?
What the actual fuck?
In
I'm
my
sorry.
Head, I'm like, why isn't the mom doing research on this?
My mind is getting
like,
totally blown right now.
Wow.
Oh my god.
You'd be surprised how many parents don't stay informed about what their child is doing. Usually I let the parent know, like, 411, your child's into this ain't really it. You need to keep an eye on this. And then they're like, whoa, I didn't know that. Thank you. And he was telling me how he loves him. He's so savage. They love that word. He's so savage. And
how is that a tricky word?
Like too.
How old is this kid, the student?
He was 4th grade.
4th grade. That's my daughter's age. Okay.
What? Wow.
And he was saying he's a fan. He can't wait to get the merch. And he was saying how he's white too. And I was like, no, you're not white. And he was like, but look at my skin. I was like, yeah, your skin is white, but you're Spanish. You're not white. Don't confuse the two. You are not white. You will pass for white, but you're not white. You're Spanish. And then he looked upset. And I was like, why are you upset? There's nothing to be ashamed of with being Spanish. Spanish is beautiful. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And then I was like, you like this guy? I was like, you know what he did? And he's like, oh, the Suicide Forest and everything. I was like, how would you feel if a family member of yours, if he made a video of that and laughed? And he was like, I'd hate it. I'd hate him. I was like, that's the point. You don't endorse when you're buying stuff from somebody and giving somebody or some group your money. You're basically saying that you're endorsing them, that you're okay with how they conduct their business and things that they do. Which is why you determine and you lead with your vote and your wallet. Where your money goes is at times more important even than voting, because that's something you can affect daily. He was like, okay, I get it. But, kids when they're young, and especially with peer pressure and everyone else loves Logan Paul, I doubt he gets it at this time. But I keep talking to him whenever I can to try and help him to understand that, there are certain people out there that aren't really good people to emulate or look up to. You shouldn't even look up to anybody, in my opinion, because that's a path to being let down. If you're going to look up to somebody realistic in your own life, maybe.
Yeah.
Hero worship is a dangerous thing.
Well, parents need to be
Look
focused on setting a good example. I mean, I try to set a good example, and my definition of that may differ from other people's, but I think Summer and I both have a good philosophy on that. But my big thing with her is to just love yourself, to learn to love yourself, as early as possible, and to be considerate of others. I demand that she be considerate. I get mad whenever she is not saying thank you. Like, I want her to understand the importance of that and of empathy and of caring for others. And she's an empathetic little soul. It just boggles my mind that this student you're talking about is her age. That just, my mind is blown right now.
Right.
And the parent had no clue. So
what do you teach?
I tutor everything from pre-K all the way up to college. For pre-K to high school, it's like English and math. And then for college, it's intro to psych, Japanese, English honors, not math. Once you hit college level, I'm not the person to come to for math.
Me either.
Even for a while, I wasn't the person to go to for math for junior high or high school, but as I kept tutoring and I liked working with students because I already, after years of working in 9-to-5 jobs, I realized I'm not the one to deal with bosses and office politics. I'm not a fan, and
Yeah,
I can't keep my mouth shut when I'm
Me
upset.
neither. Yeah.
So
So that's
perfect.
cool. So you're in business for yourself, tutoring.
Yep.
I dig it. That's awesome. And so all your students, their parents are paying for this privately.
Yeah, I work through an organization and I work privately.
It's
So-
interesting. It's kind of cool that you're being, these kids are being exposed to you. If you
Right.
think about it, like I would
Mhm.
assume a lot of people who can afford that are going to be middle class,
True.
mid to upper class white
You
families.
see, yeah, no, I mean, because privately, I usually don't charge that much. I gauge it based on how much the parent can afford. Because I
Nice.
don't like to
That's
turn down clients
Yeah, that's good.
because of money. So I'll usually ask them, like, are you within walking distance of me? Do I have to travel, like, on the transit, New York Transit, which is horrific most of the time. And then I gauge the price by how long I may have to travel to get to the student and get back. But I usually work within the parent's range. I've actually never turned down a parent because of finances.
That's awesome. Wow. Well,
Because I want to help, you got to reach the middle class white students who aren't being exposed
Yes.
to a lot of ethnically diverse people.
Yes.
You want to reach them, but you also want to help your fellow people of color to do well in
Absolutely.
school too.
Yeah.
And the thing I hate the most is when a kid's telling me that they're dumb, they can't get it.
Aw.
Oh, God,
And
that's
I'm
heartbreaking.
like, don't say that. There's no such thing. You just, and they're like, my teacher explains it and I don't get it. I'm like, your teacher is taking the path of least resistance. She has to teach an entire class. If she explains it in a way that at least 50% of the students get it, she's moving on. That's the way it fortunately has to be, because usually they don't understand that teachers are given a set amount they have to cover within that semester.
Yeah.
So they can't stop and give that individual attention every time a student needs help. It's not necessarily their fault. And that's where private tutoring comes in. I help reinforce what they're learning, and I teach it in, I don't care how many ways I have to say it, different ways. I will say it a million different ways until you get it. And then I'll keep asking you, what is this? How do you do it? What step do you do? What do you do first? Read the question. Now what do you do? Identify the steps. All right, now what do you do? Do step 1, then step 2, then step 3, then look for your answer.
So you're helping them with that
Thought process.
thinking process
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, no, well, teaching kids to think for themselves is really valuable.
And I feel like we're moving
Yeah.
further away from that, at least in public education.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
I don't have any experience with private schools or anything like that, but public education is definitely moving away from that, and I think we're seeing those results.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's why I stay here in Norman, because the schools here are actually not terrible about that. They do teach you to think a little bit,
A little bit.
but they're still under such restrictions that
Right.
I feel like it falls on the parents a lot to teach your kids. I mean, it's my job to teach Sophia to think for herself. Yeah, like nobody else is going to do that.
Right.
And not all kids are going to have a parent that's engaged or cares,
Yeah.
about those things.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because some parents also, there's some parents who they're trying to do right by their kids, but especially for a lot of minority families that I work with, their parents are working. Those parents are very, very busy working full-time schedules and don't always have the time to give the attention that they need to the child.
Yeah.
It's more like, how was your day?
That's how I feel sometimes.
I worry about that with my kids all the time.
Yeah.
Because I'm so busy.
Yeah, and I do some of the things by choice, but I also have to do them to stay happy myself. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Mom guilt.
Right, always.
Men don't feel that way. Men don't feel guilty for
just like,
spending
whatever.
time doing the things that they enjoy and working on themselves,
Well, I think that's because they're socialized differently than we are.
Yeah.
They're not socialized that that's their responsibility to worry about.
Yeah.
They're conditioned that they're entitled to do the things that make them happy, and
I hope that
we are taught to feel guilty about that.
I mean, I feel glad. Sometimes I kick Sophia out of the living room. I'm like, I'm working on a song right now. I'm doing something creative. Go do something creative on your own. And she'll go make a YouTube video on like she's got a whole like series of YouTube videos that she wants to upload. And they're all just her giving instructions to create crafts. She's like really into watching all these
that's
other videos
adorable.
of kids doing instructional videos, and she really wants to do it. Her and our
That's
neighbor kid.
cool.
Yeah, her and our little neighbor girl. They call themselves artsy and craftsy.
Oh, that's so cute.
It's so
love it.
adorable. They are
I
8 and
love
9 years
it.
old. And they just have these like wacky, like they're just Sophia's creations in her brain, like these weird little things she glues and tapes and
This would
safety
be my
pins
new
together.
favorite YouTube channel. I'm
She's
telling you.
hilarious. She's so private. She's an introvert. She doesn't want to be in front of a crowd, but she feels safe behind a camera.
Well, you
So
don't have all this faces staring back at you.
yeah. So
Oh, I love
anyway,
So cute.
I don't know
Oh
how I
my
got off on that
God.
tangent, but I really need to focus some energy on my daughter's YouTube channel. She really wants to do this.
I have a student that's really good on crafts. I mean, I'm surprised because every time I see him, he's created something else, something with either just rolling up paper in a certain way to make a superhero or a villain, or using aluminum foil.
Yeah, that's my
And
daughter.
I'm always
She's
like,
always making
Wow.
something. Yeah.
I
I'm
taught
like,
my
I can
daughter
do a
how to
stick
sew,
figure.
and I apparently created a monster because when I normally the kids except for the youngest one, normally the older kids all do their own laundry,
Mhm.
so I don't see that often. And speaking of being really busy, I usually leave the house before my daughter has to go to the bus, so I don't know what she's dressed like when she goes to school. So I don't see her clothes that often.
Mhm.
So I was helping her do laundry the other day because I just, so I'm like, throw in some of yours to finish this load out. And I start noticing, like, she has been cutting up all of her clothes and altering them and making them into other stuff. And
I love it.
And I like it on the one hand. On the other, I'm just like, am I going to get a call from the school because you don't meet dress code?
excuse me, I want to talk to you about your child. Are you cutting up her clothes?
How old is she?
What's
She's
going on here?
Awesome. That's awesome.
That's so cute.
It is. I
that's
love
what I
it. I
think
love
should
that
be
your kids are
encouraged
creative.
in
You
school.
know,
Yeah,
I
that's
want to
true.
keep that spirit alive in her for as long as possible. She's so
Right.
creative.
See, my parents kind of killed that.
Ditto.
And so
I
I'm
mean-
just now getting back to it. Because
Ditto.
I tell people all the time, I have burned more art than the world will ever see of my work. I seriously, because I just get to the point where sometimes I just feel like I can't let other people see this because of how negative they were when I was a kid about it. That I would literally
Yeah.
take it out and burn it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working on not doing that anymore.
Yeah, Sophia's super hard on herself in
Mhm.
that way. I'm probably too hard on her sometimes, and I know she went through me losing my mom when she was 4, and there was a lot of time that first year after she died that I was just not the mom I should have been, and I was dealing with too much on my own to be the mom to her that she probably needed, unfortunately.
Right.
But I think she developed an empathetic soul during that. I mean, she would see me at 4 years
Yeah,
old.
because she's seeing you go through that grief.
Yeah, she at 4 years old, she'd see me from across the room start to cry, and she would run to me and pat me on the back and hug me. Like, she just is her instinct
Aw.
to comfort, So I don't know why I'm on that tangent, but we're talking about our kids and I'm gushing over my daughter.
And you both do something that I have never been able to do, but that I want to do.
What's
you
that?
make music.
Oh.
I do good to play a radio, so I've always wanted to. So I really love it when I'm around people who can do that.
Oh, what do you do?
How did it start? I wanted to learn how to play an instrument. I didn't get to learn till college, unfortunately, because in school, when you got to pick your courses, I always wanted to take a course where I would learn an instrument, but they go by last names. And since my last name, they would go alphabetically, my last name is near the bottom of the alphabet, I would always get the leftover classes, and I would get music appreciation, where I would just listen to music and go, that's good. Yeah, that's great. Perfect.
You wanted to create.
I took piano in college. That was the first time I finally got to play an instrument. And it was funny because the teacher kept, we started with the basics, placement of hands, and then playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star and stuff like that. And once you felt like you mastered the piece, you had to play it for him, and then he give you the next assignment. And every time I would go up and play for him, he would go, okay, have you had any training? And I'm like, no. And he was like, so you've never had a private instructor? No. So you've never played in school or anywhere? And I'm like, do you ever remember those little storybooks that had the sheet music. They were like hand sized and a little keyboard
Yep.
that you could play.
Yep. I played with those
That
all the time when
was
I
what
was a kid.
played on. Yeah.
And I taught
I said,
myself
does that count?
like some basics.
I never had those.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, I taught
And-
myself basic piano when I was little just because.
So it had like a keyboard
That's
on
what
it?
I did.
Yeah, it
That
had
was
like a
the only
picture and it had
experience
like
I had.
C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Like they had the
Mhm.
keys labeled and like it matched your keyboard and it would tell you where to play the pattern. And so I kind of taught myself. Yeah, I did the exact same thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Interesting.
And
Now I want one of these
so
books.
I told him, other than that, I had no experience. So eventually he took me out of the book and he started giving me actual classical music to play. And since I love music, I love sound. I always said, like, I would ask me and my friends would get into weird discussions, like, if you had to lose one sense, which one would it be? And I was like, I would lose sight if I had to because I could not lose my ears.
Yep.
I have to be able
Absolutely.
to hear. I have to hear music. I have to hear the nuance in words, the sound of people's voices, the
Yes.
sounds of animals and nature. I have to have that.
Absolutely.
I could do no sight, but sound I must have. And I just decided I was listening to instrumental music, which I'm a very big fan of, just instrumental music like chill hop and everything. And I was like, you know what? I should try and start making some. And then I just started goofing off on GarageBand on the Mac. And then I started branching out and making more.
Oh my God. You and I need to talk. I'm a singer-songwriter. Yeah, I'm not trained, but I did the exact same thing with the piano kit when I was a kid. I played the French horn for like 1 year, and I was like, this is stupid. I don't want a fucking French horn. My dad got me that instrument because it was like the freebie instrument, you know?
Oh.
And I didn't want to play the fucking French horn.
Fair.
And like, but I wanted to play guitar, and I sang from the time I was little. I have always been a singer, and you know, I would sing the national anthem during high school football games. I have like big lungs, and I had big voice then, but my voice is much bigger now. But I've always had a big voice, you know, and like kept getting told to sing in my high voice, and you know, and then finally I just owned my own voice, and now I write my own music, and it's all by ear. I don't know how to read music when I play guitar, but you know, I can play rhythm really, really well. And I can write a clever hook, and so I have, you know, albums worth of original music at least, and I'm about to record with my band. But now that I've been doing it more seriously in the last like year and a half or so, I'm looking for more collaborative opportunities. So, all that being
I
said,
would definitely
yeah,
love
we
to
should
hear
talk
some of your
off.
music and make something.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
That would be fun. I have my Yamaha portable grand keyboard, and I have a guitar because I've been trying to learn guitar because that's the other one I want to learn. So I've been trying to teach myself.
Awesome. Well, we'll stay in touch.
Yes.
Awesome.
Sounds fun.
I just love creating. That's
Me too.
what I think people are missing in school is that creative avenue for expression. I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was writing
Have
from
to
a
create that at
child,
home. Yeah.
and I used to get a lot of weird looks because I've always been a fan of horror movies. So one of my short stories, we would write short stories, and then people would select the best story. Of course, when you're that age, typically depending on the environment, like I was in Florida, it's usually the most popular. So of course, the white girl who wrote the story about a town full of cats, how inventive, got the award. My short story was a kid on Halloween who Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, and Jason Voorhees are all fighting to see who gets to kill this kid on Halloween in his house. That was my short story.
I would pay to watch that movie.
That's so funny.
So, and then I would show people my stories, I would show them my poems, and then I stopped around high school because when I was writing poetry, I always leaned towards the very dark.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would show teachers, they would pull me out of class and go, is there something you want to tell me?
Right.
What? You wrote about a girl being sexually abused. I'm not abused. I've never been sexually abused. You sure? Why'd you write it? It's a poem.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you want me to tell you? It's the poem I came up with.
And you're empathetic, and you could relate to a situation that
Right.
didn't happen to you. which is, I
Yeah,
think,
because
something people don't always understand when you have
and
empathy.
if you
Right.
think about it, quite honestly, almost all of us know many females who have either a story of physical, sexual, some form of abuse. We
Oh,
all have
absolutely.
those stories.
Absolutely.
And
Almost
at
every woman I
points,
know.
we've all gone through it.
Yeah.
So it's never going to be out of thin air. It may not be my particular story, but I could name 5 other people who had an experience like that.
Right.
And so we have that connection. We understand that. And then I didn't put any of the stuff I wrote online half the time because I didn't want the blast back, the criticism, the hate. And I almost got discouraged from not writing and publishing on Medium because a friend of mine was basically telling me I'm not dark enough. So since I'm not dark-skinned enough, I need to be quiet because dark-skinned women are going to come after me and they're going to hate my guts.
What was
And I
her,
was like,
do you know what
wow.
her what led her to that conclusion? Because it seems like that article wasn't even,
And what was the article on?
I don't remember. Which article was that one when that came
Well,
out?
not the white passing, but the one on racism. Because she was
was
just
on
like,
racism.
you're saying, she said, you're basically saying what's already been said by black women, and they're going to get mad because if you get the spotlight, you're not dark enough, and you're taking away from, like, black women. And I'm like, first one, I'm part black. If you think I haven't heard racial slurs like the N-word, you're out of your mind. I've heard it. 2, the same thing with tutoring or teaching. Just because one person explains it well and 80 people get it, the other 20 might not. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with explaining the same argument in different ways until it sticks.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I honestly think this is a reflection of the Trump time because
It is.
my anger toward white people has increased since the election.
Mhm.
A lot of resentment, especially now that my neighborhood is becoming more gentrified. I'm just like, Jesus, they're everywhere. And all my mom and pop shops are leaving, and they've been in this neighborhood like 20, 30 years and now going out of business because the prices have now gone up for the real estate here.
Where exactly are you located?
I'm in Queens, New York.
Okay.
That's okay.
I wasn't
And
sure what
they're
neighborhood.
making
but,
their
okay.
way here.
Yeah,
And
I have
so-
family in Brooklyn.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Nice. I used to live in different parts of Brooklyn. I've lived all over in New York. I've lived mostly Brooklyn and Queens, of course.
I'm gonna be
Not
there in
Manhattan.
March. We'll have to meet up.
Yes, that would be so great.
Yeah, that would be
Definitely
awesome.
let me know when you're here.
I will. I will.
That would be a blast. I
Yeah.
could use a vacation. I'll just take the whole week off and hang out with you.
Well, I'm likely
I
going
don't
to
get enough
bring.
vacations.
I'm likely going to bring my 9-year-old daughter, so it's
that'll be fun.
it's a little vacation.
That's
You're welcome to
okay.
hang out with us.
That is okay. I am a fan of kids. I'm a fan of games.
She's awesome
So,
too.
like one of my students that I work with, he's like, every time he does well, we play Fortnite together, which he's very happy about.
Awesome.
Which
awesome.
is the
He's
thing
like,
to
did I
do
earn
right now.
Fortnite?
I
Yes,
haven't
we'll play
exposed her to
Fortnite.
that. I kind of want to. I don't know.
I know nothing about it. The only reason my kids have video games is because my baby daddy, when he was living with us, bought a damn Xbox. I know nothing about it. I hate them. Up until that time, none of my older kids ever had video games.
I don't let Sophia watch very much TV. Like the TV's just not on at
Mm-hmm.
home, so because I don't want it to like. I want her to be creative.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
Well,
don't know. I have a
I think
love-hate
also to
relationship
an
with
extent
that.
it's what your parents are into. Because I know both my parents were very big on music. My mom actually was a DJ. She used to have one of those old school DJs with the turntable. She had like
Oh,
a collection
wow.
of over 600-700 albums. So I was always very big on music in my younger years. And both my parents were into games. Like Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, all that stuff. They were they were playing Atari, Centipede. So that kind of
remember
followed me
Atari.
over. The only thing that changed is I now limit my time on games because I know they're addictive. And Fortnite is very addictive. It would be even more addictive if I actually knew how to build the steps to
Actually knew
escape
how to
being
do
shot
it.
at.
Right.
But
How old are you?
I am 39.
Okay.
okay, yeah.
I just recognized all those Ataris. I'm like, she's got to be close to our age, right?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So I played like the Sonic. I played Contra. I played this weird hamburger game where you had to make burgers and like throw salt and pepper on like the hot dogs trying to kill you.
He's trying to kill you. I think
it's
that would
called
give me
Burger
nightmares.
I just
Make you a vegetarian at least.
If anything could, that would be it.
So I think when you're younger, don't like a lot of the stuff that your parents do or your parents are into, but when you get older, you start to slowly go back to the stuff that they like.
Thank God.
So,
Hopefully, Sophia. I'm making her start piano on Monday, actually.
Oh,
Nice.
fun.
Bought her
Oh, that's fun.
keyboard, and it's, full 88 keys, weighted keyboard. Spent too much money on it. Starting her piano
really-
lessons on Monday, because she's got a natural rhythm, she's got a voice, and she's smart, and I know she can learn piano, and I regret it,
Awesome.
and I want to give that to her. She'll appreciate it someday,
Yeah.
even if she doesn't like to do
Yeah,
it right
she
now.
will.
I
I'm
always
making her
wanted
do
to.
it.
My mother played piano and
Mhm.
sang, and I always wanted to play piano, but we weren't allowed to touch the piano because
Also,
we
I
might
want her
tear
to
something
be-
up. So
I also want her to be my future bandmate.
that'd be awesome. That'd be so cool.
I always wanted to learn instruments when I was younger, so yeah. She'll
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Well, she sees me play the guitar and sing all the time. And, she wants to learn guitar. She wants to learn how
I
to
do
play.
too.
I've got a specific song I've written that, part of it's about her. And she
Aw.
loves that song so much and wants to learn how to play it. She's got a little guitar and kind of know, like, I've shown her a few chords, but I don't have the musical theory knowledge behind my skill. And
Right.
I want her to have that. So if it's something that she wants to pursue, she's going to be creative, and I don't want to push her into fucking like law degree or some shit
Right.
like I got pushed into.
Yeah.
When at heart I'm just a creative soul and
Same.
would have rather done something else.
Yeah. I always wanted to play the guitar. Maybe I'll go back to it. I stopped trying about 15 years ago when my aunt died. I also stopped singing. I haven't sang in public. I think I've sang once now since,
I don't think
since she
I
died.
knew you sang.
I used to.
only
My voice
time
is so
I
weak
ever-
now. It would take a lot of work to get back to singing. But yeah, I sang and with a small group back in the summer. That was the first time I had sang in public in 15 years since she died.
What'd you say?
I don't even remember what we were singing. We were all sitting around the campfire, and one of our friends was playing the guitar. Oh, I do know what it was. It was Landslide.
Oh,
And
I
then-
love that song.
I'll play it for you and you can sing.
I love that song. That was one of my favorites. I mean, I love Stevie Nicks' Fleetwood Mac anyway, so.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's my genre when I play. Like I sound a little bit like Stevie.
That's great then, because I love that. I know my voice sounds like a freaking 12-year-old. I
Oh,
always
whatever.
sound like a kid, and I always try to make my voice deeper. Even before I got on the phone with you guys, I was like, should I deepen my voice and go like, hey, it's Dark Sky Lady.
You sound fine.
Yeah, I've got it. I know I've got a deep voice.
I feel, I don't know. I don't
wish
like
I
listening
had
to
that
us because
women's
I sound
voice,
weird.
because you guys sound like women. Like, it's amazing. And my voice, I'm just like, I don't want to hear it. It's so
Oh,
awful.
none of us like the
So-
sound of our own voice.
Yeah, I think we're all just hypercritical because
Yeah.
you don't sound like a child to us.
I mean,
Oh my God.
I don't like the sound of my own voice, and I don't think it's conceited to say that I know I've got a really great voice, and I don't like the sound of my own voice. Like,
Right.
it's hard for me to. I sound a little different when I sing. It's a little easier to listen to my songs, but just to hear myself talk, like on the podcast, like it's not always the most enjoyable.
I can't wait to hear
Same.
your singing voice.
Oh well, I will send you some tracks.
Right?
Yeah, I got some.
Thank
I'm on
you.
iTunes. You can find
We'll
some
have
of our
to
stuff
send
on
her
there.
some links.
Definitely. I'll even probably buy some of them.
Oh.
I'm always about supporting. Now I make a pointed effort not to buy books or go to movies half the time or anything else when I know that the majority of people getting my money are white people. I make a concerted effort to go straight toward supporting minorities because I don't think there's enough support there.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
No, and I try to do the same around Oklahoma City's art scene. I mean, I went to a comedy contest last night and didn't mind paying the $15 because I knew it was going directly to the competition they were having. And
Yeah.
actually going to give $1,000 away to a comic, like that's huge
That's
for
good.
Oklahoma. You know, like there's just
That's awesome.
not a lot of, but the art scene is trying to grow, and there are a few minorities and a few women in comedy, and I'm one of the few, non-white girls doing the singer-songwriter thing with a band behind them, and so I don't know, I want to book some shit elsewhere. Like, I'm gonna come to New York, I'm gonna try to book a weekend gig
There
or
you
something.
go.
I
Gonna be
would
come
love to
touring, Felina.
see you perform live.
Awesome.
That would be even more awesome.
You've gotta let her know when your dates when you're going out there, so she can look for an open mic night for you.
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah.
y'all can go out together.
Yes, we'll make this
Yes.
happen.
That's the whole thing of it.
I'm
and I'm
pumped
gonna be
about
like
it.
videoing you too.
Fuck
Like,
yeah.
that's my friend.
Yes.
I know her.
That's
One
right.
autograph is $20 in advance.
Put her in charge of your merch while you're there.
We're just gonna collaborate
I
before
think
then, and then
so.
you're gonna be performing with me.
I think that's perfect.
Oh God, I'll have like a heart attack on stage. It takes me a while to get comfortable. Everyone thinks because I am a talker, but depending on my audience, I get quiet until I get comfortable. And
Well,
I'm
that's
usually
okay.
just like this. I'm the wallflower, like in the corner, like don't approach me, don't talk to me. I don't know any of you.
Hey, it's great to share the stage with someone else, because for the longest time I was a solo artist, and then just in the last year or so I've had bandmates, and it's so great to share the stage. It has boosted my confidence so much.
Aww.
And now I'm much more comfortable when I do perform solo, because it just playing with other people really boosted my stage
cool.
presence and my confidence. So sharing the stage is a different experience if you've not done it. It certainly takes the edge off of all the pressure being on you.
That's something at least, because
Yeah.
it takes me a while to get comfortable. I mean, there's so many different things that I do, like music, writing. I like taking pictures. I'm no good at art. Stick figures is the only thing I can do. Everyone else in my family got that skill set, the artwork. My mom is great at art, painting, everything. She's amazing. The other thing I like doing, because like I said, I like creating stuff, so I make purses. I knit and crochet purses
Oh, cool.
and
Awesome.
scarves and hats and everything.
That's awesome. I love it. That's amazing.
Yeah, I love it because I think it's more when you see stuff out there and you're like, there needs to be something unique. There needs to be something new.
You know,
I
it
like
gives
making
you
things unique.
purpose to create something that didn't exist before. And that
Yeah.
is really incredibly fulfilling. And I think that's another reason why I've become a happier person in the last year, is because I'm creating something. And that's a skill I want to teach my daughter. That's a skill that's missing from being taught in schools. I mean,
It is. It's
A
and
lot.
in a lot of homes now too, because
Yeah.
a lot of the generation before us didn't get taught that either, and so
Yeah.
it wasn't passed down.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that's important, creating new things, and even I like repurposing old things that
I
giving it
think
new life,
people
like this right here. This most people would say,
underestimate
I
that
was
sense
etching
of
the glass this
fulfillment.
morning.
People underestimate the sense of fulfillment you get when you create something.
Yes.
Because even when I was in college and when I was tutoring, I tutored in college, and I would ask students that I would have there too, because I always try and connect with my students about what's going on in the world, about what they feel, what they like, and I would ask them like, "What's your major?" And they would go accounting, and I'm going, "Oh, you love that?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "Why are you doing it?" They're like, "Because the money's there."
Right. See,
And
I had
I'm telling
never
them,
heard people
"You've
tell
gotta
us to do something
understand
we love.
that."
Ever.
Yeah,
It was always
I'm
the
like,
money's
one of
there.
the-
That's what you need to do.
that's why I was a
One of
lawyer,
the
yeah.
things
Same.
you need to think about
hate it.
the most
Hate it.
is that
It's the
when you
worst.
pick a career, you're going to be spending a lot of hours
Mm-hmm.
with that career. If it's not something you love, you're going to likely burn out a lot faster,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it's a full-time gig.
Right.
And I've also met students who I tutored who were back to get a new degree because they went for accounting or a doctor or a lawyer, and then they realized that they were doing it just for the money and they were miserable. And now they're back in school getting a degree in something they're passionate about.
Right.
I miss journalism. I have an undergrad degree in journalism and public relations, and then I went to law school, and I'm like, why the fuck did I do that? Like, I should have just continued with what I was doing. I wasn't making enough money, and I was, about to be a single parent. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go to law school so I can make more money,
Right.
so I can be the responsible parent, take care of my family, because it's going to be just me. And now I'm like $180,000 in debt.
Right.
And like, if I would have just stayed in the career I was at, I'd be making the same amount of money now,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't have this debt.
Yeah. They don't tell you
Yeah.
these things when
No.
you start.
No, that's the advice I give anybody who's like trying to figure out what the fuck to do with their lives. I'm like, no, don't go to law school.
Right.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. For a while, my mom wanted me to go to law school to be, what do you call it? what's the name? My God. It's basically the one who argues for a company. Just basically just like company law.
In-house counsel?
And
Okay.
I think so. And I was just like, just because she was like, you love to argue. And I was like, I do love to argue.
My parents said.
And then as I was in school and I started looking more and more of the studies and numbers for future lawyers in ratio to how many lawyers are finishing school to how many, and I was like, I wouldn't want to represent somebody who was scummy either. I'm very picky. Like, I call a spade, so if it's a horrible company, I'm going to be like, well, I'm not going to help you. You should sue them and get all their money because they're bad people. So go ahead and take them to court. I'm just going to go out now. So I realized it wasn't for me. It really wasn't for me.
Right.
And same as I realized eventually that, like, jobs where you're seeing your boss day in and day out, not for me.
Not for you.
I speak my mind, and then all I have people are telling me, Carmen, you're going to get in trouble. And I'm like, why? They're a jerk. I just told them they're a jerk. I didn't say it in a bad way. I just said they're a jerk.
I was just stating facts. I don't know why people get so upset about this.
I don't know why you're getting so upset. What is the big deal? So now I'm like, it's much better now, because I usually have a great relationship with my students. I have a great relationship with the parents. I don't have to deal with the politics of, you shouldn't say this, or you should say this nicely, or you shouldn't be so forceful or so blunt. I've had that conversation one too many times of, you're too loud, you're too confrontational in job, you're too this.
Yeah, I had my old boss at a firm tell me that I needed to soften my approach. An old male attorney who's like a fucking bulldog tells me I need to soften. I'm like, I can't.
Right.
Why?
Because you're a woman.
Because I'm a
not
woman.
Supposed to be stern.
And I'm not supposed to be as aggressive as you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fuck you, motherfucker.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I hate that conversation, or I hate, and especially because of being in the United States, I think it's not so much that, we're confrontational, it's just because of the social niceties that we're taught, and we're not playing that game.
Yeah,
we're seeing, our honesty is seen as attacking.
Yeah.
True.
And that's where the problem is. So I'm like, maybe I don't need to change. Maybe you need to change and just tell me what you really think. Because even in college, I called out a teacher because I had missed a lot of classes, and I explained to him what the problem was, and he wanted documented proof. So I brought the proof. He said he needed it for his records. Brought the proof, and then he wouldn't even look at it. He was like, oh, it's fine. I said, if you just wanted to say that you thought I was lying, you could have just said it. I wouldn't have taken offense.
Oh,
and he was like, oh, no, I'm not trying to. I said, no, you are, because you claimed that you needed this for your records. I bring it, and you're not even looking at it. I wouldn't have gotten offended. You don't know me. You probably get stories from students all the time. If you'd have just said, look, I don't know you, bring in the proof, because you could just straight up be lying. I would have had more respect for you had you just done that than to make me waste my time bringing in the paperwork just with a lie, basically.
Right.
You could have just been honest. I would have said, okay, you're right. You don't know me. I'll bring in the proof.
Well, there seems to be a problem with that in this country, doesn't there?
Yeah.
We can't just own our shit. We just have to lie about it.
Even with race issues, I would rather a person point blank tell me that you're racist.
Right.
Don't beat around the bush and try and hide it.
And nobody
just
thinks
tell
they're
me
racist.
what it is, so I know what I'm
This is a
dealing
sliding
with.
scale racist. I'm not racist, but.
Yeah, sliding scale racist.
I love that. I love that line. I don't want to sound racist, but you're about to sound racist.
Right.
Go ahead. Continue.
Like, just drop that phrase.
Coming.
We're good. We know what's happening.
I was like, do you really think that just saying that automatically negates anything you say after as being construed as racist?
They do. They do think that. Just like the way Southern people say bless your heart instead of, oh, you're an idiot. They really think that's somehow nicer, even though we all know what they're really saying.
Bless your heart.
Oh my, yes.
Bless your heart.
Okay, so how can people keep up with you and your creative endeavors?
Well, they can find my music on Bandcamp, under Dark Sky Lady. They can follow me on Twitter. I'm on Instagram under Dark Sky Lady. And on Medium, I think I'm on Dark Sky Lady, though I'm not 100% sure.
Yes.
I believe I am, though.
Yes, that's how you're listed, because that's what your bio says.
I think the only thing I'm not Dark Sky Lady under is Tumblr, because somebody already took it on there.
Oh, okay.
Darn it. And I don't use Tumblr anymore.
I haven't
really,
been on
anyway.
Tumblr in probably a couple years now.
Yeah, I'm mostly on Twitter, and then if I remember to take a picture when I'm out or a selfie, then I'll post it on Instagram. But I'm usually forgetful. The most you'll see is nature shots because I'm a very big fan, especially as the leaves are changing, and my cat.
Oh, you'll like my Instagram then. That's all that's on there.
What's your Instagram? I'm looking you up right now.
Dark Sky Lady.
Okay. I was trying to find you on Bandcamp first
right,
and wasn't having
I
any
can
luck.
send you the link. I have it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I'll send you my Bandcamp. There we go.
All right. Well, thank you so much
Awesome.
for being with us.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.
You too.
We're going to finish up the episode with a song called All In from her electronic instrumental album, which you can find on Bandcamp. Just search Dark Sky Lady.
You can contact the podcast at brokebrokenpodcast@gmail.com. The Broken Broken Podcast can be found on Twitter at Broke Broken Show, on Instagram and Facebook at Broke Broken Podcast.